Greetings, this is Screen Singer, and welcome back to Sherlock Holmes Crimes and Punishments. I'm here with Case 5, the Kew Gardens drama. I wasn't sure I was going to do this today, because I have a business meeting to go to later, so I may have to split this up into two videos, two streams. But I showered and got ready, and I still had a little over 2 hours left to kill, which is the average length for a case, so why not give it a go?
Holmes, for heaven's sake, whatever's going on?
Oh, hello, Watson. You're early. Did you kill all of your patients?
What? Holmes, where have all these wretched bees come from?
I increased the temperature of the room so as to prevent them from hibernating. I needed to take a sample of honey. But it worked, Watson. We will have honey all year round.
Ridiculous and dangerous.
They're domestic bees, Apis mellifera, such industrious workers. Anyway, Watson, I am sorry, but I must leave you. I'm in rather a hurry.
You have a new case?
Yes, but nothing as thrilling as this experiment, a theft of plants at the Royal Botanic Gardens in Kew. I'm helping a minister who's an old friend of mine. You can join me if you like.
Well, I'll admit that I'd far rather accompany you than remain alone here with these workers of yours. Besides, you'll need a helping hand with the flowers you're intending to bring back.
Watson, however did you guess?
For the great Sherlock Holmes to bother with the theft of plants. Come on, admit that you're planning to spoil your little bees with some rare pollens.
Since when did I become so transparent? Let us go.
I like how he's in a rush, but he was sitting there playing an instrument. Oh, damn it. I'll do it next time I go to Baker Street. I had wanted to check my letters. I also, since this case is about Kew Gardens, I wanted to change into a green suit. But it can wait for this super long loading screen to end. This super long loading screen is also why I'm going to wait until I just need to go back to Baker Street for something. I'm sure I'll have something at my analysis table if this case has anything to do with flowers.
Well, Holmes, here we are at the Royal Botanic Gardens. There's no doubt that this place is beautiful. But are you really intent on investigating the theft of the plants?
Yes, of course.
What are we doing, Holmes?
Let us find someone who could help us.
Is that clear? Just go and get a bucket of fertilizer, and without turning it over this time. Good day to you, gentlemen. How may I help you? If you are here for a visit, please do come back on Sunday.
I am afraid that it cannot wait. My name is Sherlock Holmes, and this is my friend and colleague, Dr. Watson. We are investigating the theft of plants that took place here 5 days ago. A remarkable collection, I believe.
So you're the one in charge, eh?
A small favor for a friend. Now, to whom do I have the pleasure of speaking?
I am Martin Hamish. I am the Deputy Director of Kew Gardens, and that fellow yonder is Albert. He works here.
I am delighted to meet you. What can you tell us about the plants?
They were rare and exceptional plants. We presented them at our last exhibition. We haven't removed the stand yet. It is still in the large glass house. We only learned of their disappearance the evening after the exhibition, and nobody saw anything.
No doors were forced?
No, but I would imagine that for a thief it would be fairly easy to gain entry, for there are no guards here.
Well, if you don't mind, we will take a look. Now, you say that it is in the large glass house.
Yes, the one just behind me. Just a second, since Albert has nothing else to do. Albert, show these gentlemen where the exhibition was held.
How many people work here?
Only myself, but occasionally 2 students, Albert, whom you have met, and Miss White.
Sorry if you're having some audio issues. I seem to be encountering some lag, and even I'm having
Here it
audio
is.
issues.
This is the place where the stolen plants were exhibited.
Thank you. Is there something the matter?
Yes, there is. All right, the plants were valuable and rare, but it seems to me that the tragedy that took place here only 2 days ago has been entirely forgotten already.
What tragedy are you referring to?
The director of Kew Gardens, Mr. Montague Dunn, he died here just 2 days ago.
We're very sorry. We were not aware. The 2 of you were good
Of course,
friends?
there's a death involved. We can't just be
He was my
investigating a
father.
simple theft.
Oh dear. Our condolences. We should not be troubling you. Please do excuse us for the intrusion.
You say that he died here, in the large glass house.
Holmes?
Yes, just here, near the door to the colonial collection. He suffered a heart attack. Just like that. So suddenly. It was terrible. Excuse me, gentlemen, but I cannot remain here. If you need me, I'll be in the reserve. That's the room next to the front of the large greenhouse.
Of course, we understand.
What should we do next, Holmes? Do not touch.
According to Albert, this is where his father, Montague Dunn, was found dead. This sign is broken. Something heavy was dropped upon it.
Water Lily's basin. Okay.
Blood. Someone fell violently against this sign, and they were injured in the clash. Most likely a head wound. The traces are thinner in some places. These boot marks are fresh. It appears as though someone was dragging their feet. The footprints reveal that someone staggered here. Fragments of a flower pot. It fell down here. Soil. It should have come from a flower pot. The soil on the side of this flower shelf is the same as that on the ground. This pot was broken fairly recently. A flower pot recently fell down from these shelves and was misplaced. The door was smashed at shoulder height. This door handle is new. It was recently changed. The esconson was breached near the handle. The door was forced from the inside of the...
I think we need to inspect
Whoops.
the colonial collection.
All the clues around here are quite suspicious. I need my imagination to make sense of it all.
Huh. So breaking the door should be first. And then he knocks over the pot. That makes this last.
reveals a disturbing fact. Montague Dunn damaged the door of the Colonial Collection Room.
He was in a panic, or the door was locked. Was it an accident, or a murder then, I wonder? I think we need to inspect the Colonial Collection.
Oh, his casual suit is kind of purple. I thought it was black.
Very strange. Half of the Colonial Collection is absent. According to this, they have light and moisture control in some parts of the building. These plants come from all the territories of the British Empire.
I read about Kew Gardens. They apparently have like a ton of different plant types.
The smell is strong. It is a detergent. This broken fragment was the result of a heavy blow. A fragment of marble, most likely chipped from a statue or sculpture.
Because I need to... Oh.
These windows were perfectly cleaned. Part of this greenhouse was emptied and thoroughly cleaned.
Alright, I have a new deduction. And it's not too hard to guess what I need to pick. Perform an autopsy on Montague Dunn. The death is suspicious. Why had he forced the door of the Colonial Collection Room? Why had someone cleaned and emptied the room? Was it a trap or a simple accident? Okay, well I need to perform an autopsy. I'm gonna go to Baker Street first. Change suits, check the letter. I was gonna wait until I had to go to Baker Street for something, but screw it. We're still towards the beginning of the case. And I've still got 2 hours before I have to leave, so I'm making good time. I think. It's hard to say, I don't really have a suspect yet. Mr. Holmes, I am writing to inform you that the affair at the Abbey Grange, which took place almost half a year ago now, wow, this game takes place over a long period of time, still resonates deeply in high society and remains a subject of much gossip. This case's romantic background has attracted many suitors who show willing to shelter and take pity on Lady Brackenstall, but to this date she still serves her sentence with her maid Teresa and has rejected all offers of help. So Teresa's being sentenced too? To be truthful, I suspect that the true motivation of these suitors may well be related to Sir Eustace's title and money. What do you think, Mr. Holmes? Sincerely yours, Inspector Lestrade.
My archive.
Whoops. Let's see, brown? Green. I like this suit. I should talk to Toby while I'm here, see what he's all about right now.
Oh dear, Toby. I wasn't aware that you were Watson's new literary agent.
Oh, he's chewing up a book. That's cute.
Someone should take Toby for a walk. Have you found something interesting?
Now he's looking through the telescope. Is Watson the one that's been watching that weird woman? You can kinda, if you stand here, kinda see her in the window, I think. Alright, let's go to Scotland Yard and do an autopsy. I should check the evidence room too, see if the guy had any belongings that might be interesting. So if we're doing an autopsy, I guess technically Watson's actually going to be doing it.
I asked Inspector Lestrade to take Montague Dunn's body to Scotland Yard.
It's ready for autopsy, then. It's ready for autopsy, then.
Interesting, a couple of achievements that should have popped earlier just popped, but there are two that on the Game Hub say they're 100% complete that still haven't popped. Just kind of weird.
A beautiful feather pen of a good make.
Doesn't look like a feather pen to me. You talking about a quill, or is a feather pen something different?
A membership card for the London Crest Club. This watch is of great value.
To Mr. F. Wayne, director of Wayne & Sons Printing Company, my friend, your posters for the great exhibition at Kew Gardens are very beautiful, but it is surely unnecessary to mention all of the staff. My name alone will be sufficient. So Montague Dunn was kind of a dick. So my guess it was a staff member who killed him for, you know, being kind of a dick.
First of all, let us carry out an external examination. There is an injury to the skull, most probably caused by the fall in the water lily greenhouse.
Really shouldn't Watson be talking right now?
The vessels and the pupil of the eye appear quite normal. The air from the lungs carries a faint floral aroma. There are no suspicious marks upon the chest. Let us finish our external examination so that we can proceed with the autopsy. No redness, stings, or bruises. Nothing suspicious here.
Then why'd we have to look at all that?
Let us examine the internal organs.
Huh.
The heart's blood vessels show no pathological signs. The heart tissue shows no visible pathological signs. The liver is enlarged. It would seem that he was suffering from an alcohol addiction.
There have been a few of those in this game. This is at least the third guy.
The liver tissue is brown. There are no visible pathological signs. The stomach tissues show no visible pathological signs. There is a small amount of content. It appears that he breakfasted lightly, only a short while before his death. The lungs are congested and edematous.
Don't know what that means. Gotta know I don't know what that means. Whoa, holy shit.
The tissue on the inferior lobe of the right lung is damaged, most probably caused by toxins from an unknown plant. My suspicions have been substantiated. Montague Dunn, the director of Kew Gardens, died from poisoning. Plant poisoning, to be more exact.
You mean
Yes, it is murder.
we should inform Lestrade?
Yes, but do remember, Watson, that I discovered the murder. The challenge is mine.
The challenge, Holmes?
We need to locate that deadly plant. Such a perfect murder appeals to me.
Murder of any kind appeals to you. Is that all we need to do?
No, we also have the people working at Kew Gardens. Martin Hamish and the son of the victim, Albert Dunn.
And also Miss White, of whom we spoke with Mr. Hamish. Should we bring them all here for interrogation?
No, a few innocuous questions at Kew will suffice, as well as a discreet delve into their personal affairs. Yes, Watson, it is time now to open the doors.
Even those in the staff building. I suppose that is necessary.
We should also be concerned with the victim himself. After all, we don't know very much about Montague Dunn.
You're enjoying this already, aren't you?
More than a little.
What should we do next, Holmes?
I guess go back to Kew Gardens, but this says I have a new deduction, so... And again, pretty easy to figure out what it is. After being trapped in the Colonial Collection Room by the killer, Montague Dunn was affected by inhaling a vegetal poison.
Mr. Hamish, can you explain to us what happened to the Colonial Collection? It seems somewhat depleted.
But, most likely maintenance work, tidying up.
You're not sure, then? But you're the deputy director.
Well, I am busy. I cannot be everywhere at once.
Albert told us about the tragic death of Mr. Dunn, the late director of Kew Gardens.
Tragic indeed. His heart attack was quite unexpected.
As deputy director, how was your relationship with Montague Dunn?
To be honest with you, Mr. Holmes, it could have been better. You see, every Tuesday he would carry out his inspection of the gardens, but it was solely to make an impression, great pretense that he cared at all. He would give out absurd orders, ignoring anyone else's opinion. He would then disappear for the rest of the week. He was what some might call a man of action. I'd say rather he was overzealous and chaotic. So after all, it was no wonder, perhaps, that he ended up like that, if you take into consideration his kind of lifestyle.
You mentioned that Mr. Dunn led a particular lifestyle.
Well, it's no secret that he enjoyed, celebrating, shall we say. He was a member of the London Smart Set. He was famous for it. That
And
he had an eye for the ladies, to put it mildly, Mr. Holmes.
tell me, Mr. Hamish, do you grow the more deadly variety of plant here?
You mean insectivorous? Yes, but nothing larger than that.
Thank you, Mr. Hamish. We shall continue our investigation.
Can I help you, gentlemen?
A task list for Albert, compiled by Martin Hamish. Sweep out the palm house, scrub the toilets, clean the storage shed tools.
Damn it. Just wanted to read the sign. Oh, I guess I'm talking to him.
Who is Miss Margaret White?
Ah, she is the young lady who studies with me. She visits here sometimes to help out with the greenhouses. In fact, she should be here today. She wanted to work at the seed house. That's the small greenhouse across from the large glass house.
Do you work here?
Yes, but part-time only, for I'm also studying botany at the University of London.
You're following in your father's footsteps, then. That is commendable.
Well, even if botany is not my strongest suit, there are people who say that I could be a good manager.
We noticed that a part of the colonial collection has been cleared.
Ah. At the moment, I'm just dealing with the storage room. I don't know much about the other rooms.
I imagine that your relationship with your father may have been a strained one.
Yes. I cannot say that he was a kind man, for he never listened to me at all. He forced me to work here. But now, after his death, I've been pondering it over. Perhaps he wasn't so wrong about me after all. I have to follow his path, and I have to manage Kew Gardens, and I can do it. I can be as good as any other who works here.
Would you please tell us about Martin Hamish, the Deputy Director?
Well, I have to tell you that Mr. Hamish is not and has never been the Deputy Director of Kew Gardens. My father would not have tolerated it.
Indeed? That is most interesting. He told us that he was.
Yes, because he believes that the management should be passed down to him now that my father is dead. But in actual fact, Mr. Hamish only has the honor of being the garden's longest-serving employee. In fact, if we are to think logically at all, it should be me who takes over the management of Kew Gardens.
Do you not have a good relationship with Mr. Hamish?
I suppose so. But we have very little in common. Mr. Hamish loves his plants and Kew Gardens, and I cannot say that I share his passion.
I see. And how was his relationship with your father?
Oh, he hated my father. He would be furious at both Kew Gardens papers or at conferences. He was convinced that my father was stealing all of the credit for himself. But my father treated Mr. Hamish in the same way as he treated anyone. dismissively, with indifference.
Only 3. Well, 2 of them are pretty obvious.
Thank you, man. We shall see you again soon. According to this, they have light and moisture control.
Okay, I've already been here. I need to be finding Miss White.
Look, Holmes, this charming lady must be Miss White. She's entering the seed house.
Colonial Collection. Seed House.
Okay, he just reads these, that's not important.
There is a smell of burning.
That's interesting. Pick that in a second. I'm gonna talk to her. I like that Miss Watson calls her.
Seed House. Open.
He's very stern with that door.
Good day to you, miss. You have some very beautiful plants here.
Why, thank you, sir. And good day to you, too. But
Oh, I do beg your pardon. My name is Dr. John Watson. This is my good friend, Mr. Sherlock Holmes.
I am honored to make your acquaintance, gentlemen. My name is Margaret White. Excuse me, but are you Sherlock Holmes, the great detective?
Yes, I am he.
What a pleasure to see you here at Kew Gardens. Are you working on a case?
Yes, a theft of plants that took place here a few days ago after their most recent exhibition.
Oh yes, of course. I quite forgot about that.
Oh, it's quite understandable that you might forget about the theft of the plants, miss, after the tragedy that took place here.
The director was a truly good man. It is such a terrible misfortune.
Would you happen to know why part of the Colonial Collection was cleared?
No, I have never been there.
Do you work here?
Part-time only. I am a biology student at the London University. I attend the same classes as the son of Mr. Montague Dunn. That is how I found my chance to work here for part of my thesis, you see. It is a great honor.
How well did you know Mr. Montague Dunn?
He was a master, a great leader. I saw him almost as a spiritual father.
He had an exceptional nature?
Oh yes, indeed. He was always so active and so optimistic, and very nice to me. Although he could behave harshly towards his son.
Why so?
He loved his son very best for him. I'm extremely demanding. Albert, who is naturally shy, suffered because of it.
Most of the doors in Kew Gardens are locked. Do you have a key to this room?
Oh, yes. Albert gave me a set of duplicate keys. He agreed I might carry out my studies without disturbing him. It is only temporary.
How's he know what perfume she has on her neck? Interesting, I didn't know that was a thing.
Thank you, miss. None of the 3 people who work at Kew Gardens know why half of the colonial collection was cleared. So, someone is lying. It is obvious.
Kew Gardens is such an exciting place. Wouldn't you agree?
So if a lot of the doors are locked, that explains why he yelled open, because I guess he was surprised. Still, it sounded like he was being really stern with the door, which I thought was really funny. What am I looking for here? Gotta be something in here I can look at.
A book about ships. Nothing at all to do with plants. These leather gloves are new and of good quality. They do not appear to have been used. Materials for college study. They belong to Albert. This place serves as Albert's office. From here, we are unable to see the interior of the Colonial Collection Room. A door handle? Why would anyone throw such a thing in the fire? The door handle to the Colonial Collection and that of the fireplace are made of the same material.
Hear that?
A protective mask. Someone set it alight, but it did not burn. The remains of a picture frame. A broom handle was half burned. The plants were set alight fairly recently. Some have not completely burned. The symbol is not from Kew Gardens. These flower pots are beautiful. They are intended to be used for exhibition purposes. The symbol is not from Kew Gardens. These trees, with their roots in water, must originate from Louisiana.
Ah, yes, the bayou. I remember our visit in the case of the Awakened.
The glory of the colonial empire, rare and exotic plants in our distant colonies.
The plants were here. All of them were stolen. Here is a list of the stolen plants.
Okay. Well, now what? Yeah, I've been here too, so... I don't think I've been over here.
Locked. Mr. Hamish, can you tell us who holds the keys to the locked greenhouses?
That would be Albert, Mr. Dunn's son. Yes, Albert keeps all the keys, and one can only imagine why.
What do you mean?
Well, he was never interested in Kew Gardens before, and now all of a sudden he's trying to act as if he owns the place. I think he wants to take over the management here. He'd do better to leave that to me. He has no experience. No, none at all.
What is your opinion of Albert as a student of botany?
He's useless. I often tell him so, and I can only give him cleaning tasks. Botany is not his life's work, and his father well knew it. He was furious about it.
He was?
Oh, yes. He forced his son to work here, and he never missed an opportunity to criticize him publicly.
Are you able to elaborate on that?
Well, for example, with our last exhibition here, Mr. Dunn had Albert make a presentation speech. But then, while the lad was speaking, Mr. Dunn interrupted him, asking him difficult questions, making him look like a failure. It was with the intention of making a fool of him, Mr. Holmes.
That must have been terribly humiliating.
Yes, he was crushed, and he had to leave. Everybody was making fun of poor Albert. That is, except for Miss Margaret White, who is such a nice lady and who always takes pity on Albert.
You mentioned White. Would you tell us more about her?
She is a who works here part-time. It's quite charming indeed. She possesses a great talent for botany. You should take a look at some of her experiments that she laboratory. Only she were not so naive.
Why naive?
The way she used to flutter around Mr. Montague Dunn. And why, he couldn't help but be flattered by all her attention. How could an intelligent woman such as Miss White not be gay?
Continue. Do you hold the keys to all of these locked doors?
Yes, you can have them. But I cannot give you the keys to the cloakroom. The employees' effects are private. I am sure you understand.
Thank you, young man. We shall see you again soon.
Alright, now I can go into the office. I was hoping he'd yell open again. I wish he yelled that every time he opened a door.
Champagne. Montague Dunn had good taste. French wine. A remarkable vintage.
My dearest Margaret, following our last conversation, I believe it might be better if you vacate your position here at Kew Gardens. As you pointed out quite bluntly, you are no longer in need of my support. You are quite able to stand up for yourself in this world, as you say. Well, I give you back your freedom and wish you nothing but good luck. Oh, he came onto her. And he basically tried to fire her for it.
Newspapers discussing Kew Gardens.
The Kew Gardens team are pleased to announce a successful production of a new variety of barley, one that retains a complete resistance to the cold. They have named it the Siberian barley. Mr. Martin Hamish, the proud cultivator of the graft, will hold a press conference next Monday morning upon this very subject.
A photograph of Montague Dunn and Reynold Hamish.
Whoa, wait. No, that's not it. It was after I passed this that it fell. So go back to the right. I think we have to keep them matching. So... yeah, because it was 2, 2, 3, 3, and all the way. That was kind of an interesting little puzzle. My dear friend, please allow me to express my disappointment upon reading your last letter. I'm paying you to defend me, not to accuse me. Kew Gardens is a royal institution. We are granted the great opportunity to travel the world and to save the most extraordinary, precious, and rare species of plant. Our duty is to protect such species and from those who might wish to use them for dubious purpose. The divine syndicate of whom you speak have no right to hold such precious plants. Remember the case of June 14, 1889. So I must respectfully ask you once again to notarize the permissions on these plants on behalf of Kew Gardens. The documents were sent to you on Monday. P.S. See you in Boodles on Tuesday as always. Okay. That sounds like a place we might have to go. Mr. Dunn, we ask you for the last time for the return of our dear sisters. You do not have any right to hold them in prison. They do not belong to you. Your so-called permissions are wholly false. You are hiding behind lies. The lie, we need not elaborate, that was reported in the press as the case of June 14, 1889, but I'm going to have to look that up. What you have done is quite abhorrent. Be very sure that we shall never abandon our family members. We trusted you and regret having done so to the fine syndicate. This is very strange.
I suggest that we don't tell Miss Margaret White about this document.
Debt of Miss Margaret White to Mr. Montague Dunn, rental of a suite of rooms at Oxford Suite. An educational scholarship at the London University, credits opened at Hamilton's Radigan House Tailors and Baird & Sons Luxury Jewelers. Huh. Why should we not tell Margaret about it? Seems like we should ask her. New deduction. Okay, so these two are obviously connected. Two mentioning the same person usually go together. Miss White and Mr. Dunn had a recent disagreement. Montague Dunn was planning to release Miss White from her position at Kew Gardens. Oh yeah, he never gave her that letter. It was on his desk. So, she may not actually have a motive. She might not have known. Let's see where I can go in here.
Such masks are generally worn when dealing with toxic chemicals. Gloves, waterproof aprons, everything one might need for self-protection.
Do they grow dangerous plants here?
It appears as though the protective equipment is missing from here. There was a bottle here. It left behind a trace of the substance that pervaded the laboratory.
Gold dust? Good heavens. What's it doing here?
The gold is almost immune to chemical attacks, so it may be a valuable auxiliary for various experiments.
But why would anyone perform such experiments in a botanical garden?
Several drops of the substance were spilled. Someone carried this bottle around. Several drops of the substance were spilled. Someone carried this bottle around. The bottle is no longer here, but it is possible to detect a faint scent. We need a good nose.
Yes, more Toby.
A botany book. This student's book belongs to Albert. Chemicals, a sufficient quantity for some serious experiments.
A phonograph used for voice recording. Remarkable.
Yes, this is quite a modern laboratory.
Martin Hamish's perception of plants. The notion of communication in the plant world has long been considered marginal, yet I remain convinced plants do indeed transmit chemical signals in the event of attack.
A study report by Martin Hamish.
experiments, the plants to respond to their environment and have a form of consciousness. Margaret White, February 1895. Report number 245.
Study report.
Wow. She preempted the secret life of plants by like, geez, something like 90 years.
This is a table for experiments. It resembles my own.
Only this one is kept in good order, Holmes.
What's this door? Oh,
Locked.
cloakroom.
Holmes, Albert Dunn didn't give us the key to this door.
It does not matter. We will open it.
Of course we will. Okay. Not 100% sure what I'm doing right now. Okay, so those lines seem to match. I think... See through these windows now. Oh, okay.
Open.
I want him to say that every time he opens a door, I swear.
Miss White's locker. These jewels must be worth a small fortune. A draft of the letter that Miss White sent to her parents.
Dear Mother and Father, I'm writing this letter with reluctance to ask for your help. My studies and my housing costs have proven to be more expensive than I had anticipated. I fear, therefore, that I may not be able to manage in the long term. I know that we have had our disagreements in the past, but would you be so heartless as to allow your daughter to fail her studies due to lack of money? Huh.
Apparently, Miss White is a capable student. A vanity purse. It is of high quality.
Margaret, we were surprised to receive your letter. How could you think to ask us for money after all of these years that have passed since you left and without any thought of us? You have never shared with us any detail of your success at the university, but you choose to do so now? We suppose you must be ashamed of us, for we are not from the same high class as your new friends, yet we are modest people. But you should learn to put your family first as we at home have always done, and none of us ever compromise the reputation as it appears you have already with your employer, Mr. Dunn. No, Margaret, it is you who makes us feel ashamed. Your parents. They might actually have a bit of a point. Am I missing anything in here? Huh. Oh, here it is. Dear Margaret, I know how your financial troubles are overwhelming you at this present time. Please let me reassure you that I could not permit you to remain in such a dilemma. I was born of a wealthy family. I would consider it an honor if you might accept my help. Your devoted servant, Albert. Ooh, he was whipped.
Martin Hamish's locker. Martin Hamish studied chemistry. Interesting. A review on rare and exotic plants. Martin Hamish has written several pieces.
Mr. General Secretary, recent events, there's a lot of reading in this chapter. Recent events unfolding at Kew Gardens obliged me to renew my application for the management position. As I have stated already in my previous letters, I believe that no one is better suited for the post. While Mr. Montague Dunn was alive, I understood your reservation of my suggestion. Your reasons were political, and so I was happy to comply. But now the Kew Gardens lie in disorder. How can I stand by and allow it? How can I leave them in the hands of inexperienced people with no motivation? I must urge you to cast your decision as a matter of urgency so that I may devote myself entirely to noble task ahead, and free my mind from this uncertainty.
Father and I, Kew Gardens.
Okay.
Albert's locker. Specialist articles on shipyards and ship construction. Albert Dunn has a great passion for shipbuilding and the sea. A rejection letter from the British Royal Naval College.
Royal Navy School of NCOs, Recruitment Center, London. Sir, it is my regret to inform you that despite your excellent results within our entry examinations, we are unable to invite you into the Royal Navy School. Your father, Mr. Montague Dunn, has expressed his intention to entrust to you the directorship of the Royal Botanic Gardens in Kew, and it is clear that he would not release you for an entire year of naval training. Please accept all our best wishes for your future at Kew Gardens. Yours very faithfully, J.R. Lamarckand, Director of the Royal Navy Training Center. Keeps telling me to do... Oh, okay.
A picture of Miss White and Albert in front of the University of London.
And they seem to get along.
Watson sounded really far away just there. Alright. Do I have an introduction after all that? Well, there's 2 mentioning Miss White. 3 mentioning Miss White, sorry. Let's see. They had a problem with that. Margaret White's studies and social situation were completely dependent upon Montague Dunn's wealth. No, I thought one of those might still appear so I could connect it to Miss White's studies, but never mind. Alright, what else can I check out now? Oh, whoops. Why did I think that was the door? Okay. Let's start from this direction. Nope.
A glasses case. It is empty. A thesis, written by Martin Hamish. This area serves as Martin Hamish's office. We can see the interior of the Colonial Collection Room from this window.
Well, that seems important.
This poster is for an exhibition that Martin Hamish was directing, but it had nothing to do with Kew Gardens. This certificate belongs to Martin Hamish. He won a horticultural competition. A master's degree diploma. It belongs to Martin Hamish. An award presented to Martin Hamish for Best Grower of the Year. These young plants must be delicate if they are kept in the nursery. It is a bust of Montague Dunn. I am curious if the marble that we found will fit this place. Here it is. The marble fragment that we found in the Colonial Collection Room is what they have in common. The seeds of plant species are stored here. Locked.
Think we have sufficient reason to talk to Albert now. Place is kind of confusing.
I perceive that you are passionate about the Royal Navy.
Passionate? No, not really. I like ships, that is all.
Are you quite sure? You do not seem to be so interested in plants.
It's difficult, that's all. My future is here. It has never been about anything else.
And yet I know that the Royal Naval College rejected your application.
Ah, you truly are as clever as they say. Yes, that's correct. And in fact, my father was strongly against the idea. He did his best to ruin my plans, although I almost did succeed. But my dreams were shattered, Mr. Holmes.
Thank you, young man. We shall see you again soon.
New deduction. There's two about Albert. He had a motive to kill his father. Dunn had thwarted Albert's dream of joining the Royal Navy. By killing his father, he could have his revenge and eventually succeed in his father's place.
Mr. Hamish, was someone from your family connected with Kew Gardens?
Family? No. I'm the only one with a passion for botany.
I do not think so. This photograph of you and your father at Kew Gardens suggests the opposite.
But you have no right to.
Do tell us more about your father.
He was, indeed, the greatest botanist of his time in the British Empire. He worked together with Montague Dunn until the end of his life. He brought me in at the age of 12.
Did he get on well with Mr. Dunn?
No, I couldn't say that. They expanded Kew Gardens together, that was all. And it was all my father's work, for Dunn always lived the high life.
So Mr. Dunn was not helping your father?
Oh, yes, he provided the financial support. And as far as he was concerned, that fulfilled his role. But the worst of it was, he declared himself as the master of Kew Gardens. Fame meant nothing to my father, so it was easy for Mr. Dunn to take all the credit.
There is a bust of Montague Dunn in the nursery.
A bust? Oh, that old thing. Further proof of that outrageous ego of his.
But why in that room in particular?
Oh, I don't know. It has always been there.
It is strange, because I recovered a fragment of the bust inside the Colonial Collection Room.
Really? Oh, well, so I am mistaken. It ought to have been removed during the cleanup. This room is so small.
Do you know who moved it?
I have no idea. Surely Mr. Dunn requested it. Do you have any more questions like this? Because fragments of rock are not my responsibility.
Evidently. Thank you, Mr. Hamish. We shall continue our investigation.
I should have a similar one to Albert's. So, director, Hamish's anger. Hamish's motive. He believed that he and his father's lives had been ruined by Dunn, who had taken the credit for all of their work. Hamish was to take over the directorship of Kew Gardens, but he knew that would not be possible with Dunn still alive. Alright, so I got some dates and stuff to look up. I think I also need to look up some plants, probably. Means I might finally get to use something besides the newspapers. I can't really think of what else to do. I could talk to Miss White, but... I don't know, I oddly trust her. Oh wow, lots of stuff to search. Rare plants, botany, let's start there. Remember there being a botany tab. These plants have a certain toxicity in common, more or less variable. List of plants, only the first three can be dangerous to humans, particularly Florum diabolica, but only under very specific conditions. React to a process of aggression against which it will issue deadly spores.
Here it is.
Okay. I remember the research had some stuff that might be important. The Divine Syndicate was mentioned. The Divine Scholastic Syndicate for Vegetation Veneration. The members of this syndicate worship Truan, the God King. Okay. They strive to obtain spiritual peace and release themselves from the material world, so generous donations are...
Here it is. The Divine Syndicate is not a supplier to Kew Gardens. Besides, there is no address here.
Let's go to symbols again. Seymour's Garden, garden equipment and supplies. We are a premium supplier for all your landscape, gardening and timber requirements, full range supply and delivery of sands, soils, mulches, pots, anything else you may need. 3 Blurton Road. Maybe I'll have to go there. And the last thing I will need newspapers for, because that's a date, so June 14, 1889. Scandal at the Divine Syndicate Club. The Divine Syndicate Club, followers of God King Truan, situated on 48 Grosvenor Street, Carlton Road, protectors of plants and more particularly trees, are currently the subject of administrative investigation. Leaders of this organization are suspected of financial malfeasance. It may be that this investigation will lead to charges of judiciary. Meanwhile, many voices have risen high against this inspection, denouncing the state. In fact, this private organization, which has given as its goal the defense and protection of nature, and which incorporates many persons of influence, including political representatives of the opposition party, blah blah blah.
And here is the Divine Syndicate's address. Perfect. It is time to find out what they have against Montague Dunn.
Okay. Any deductions from all that? Oh, yeah. These two. Killers may be those who stole the exotic plants, including the deadly species, from the last exhibition at Kew Gardens. Okay, so while I'm here, I needed Toby for that thing, and I think it was in the laboratory.
Come on, Toby. We have some work for you to do. Let us go to Kew Gardens.
I love Toby so damn much. God, these loading screens. Kew Gardens really is huge.
Let us take Toby to the laboratory. He will pick up the scent of this mysterious substance. Search, Toby. Search.
Toby can open doors. Neat.
Congratulations, Toby. Now let us see what you have found. This is the bottle that was used in the laboratory. It was buried here. There is still some liquid remaining in the bottle, with gold flakes. A tiny caterpillar. Not surprising to see one in a garden, but at the bottom of a bottle.
Okay.
Brave Toby. The best nose in the British Empire.
So, Albert might know about the Divine Syndicate. He's in here. Actually, I should probably ask everybody about it.
Tell me, have you ever heard of the Divine Syndicate?
No, I cannot say that I have.
That'll also be a good chance to
Thank
see
you,
if I
young
have
man.
anything to talk
We shall see you
to
again soon.
Margaret about all the stuff I found in her wardrobe, because she's the only one I didn't talk to before I went back to Baker Street.
Are you aware of the Divine Syndicate?
The Divine what? Is this a joke?
No, I am quite serious.
What a ridiculous name. Anyway, I have never heard of this syndicate.
Thank you, Mr. Hamish. We shall continue our investigation.
Right, now to talk to Margaret. Unless she gives me something, not 100% sure what I need to be doing right now. Oh, well, I could look at that chemical I just found. And then at some point I really do need to, since I have their address. But I kind of want to see the chemical.
The Divine Syndicate. Does that name mean anything to you, by any chance?
Not at all. But it is a very pretty name.
Thank you, miss.
Toby. Toby seems to like me more than he likes Watson. Or maybe I just like Toby more than Watson does. Since he's always eating Watson's shoes and books and shit. Apparently Watson sat on him before. So actually, yeah, Toby probably wouldn't like him either.
Let us determine just what we have found here. Let us pour liquid from the bottle into a test tube to perform an analysis. This is the bottle that we found hidden at Kew Gardens. Let us use a pipette to take a sample of the liquid and fill a test tube. A colorless, water-based liquid. Quite a strong floral aroma.
Of course you
Holmes?
have the option to taste it.
What are you doing?
It has a bitter taste.
What if it's poisonous?
Did you ever see poison stored in enormous jars like that? Anyway, there is a doctor nearby.
So, what do you think it is?
It is some kind of organic compound. Let us vaporize the liquid and see what happens. Small colorless crystals. Colorless, tiny crystals that are soluble in water, with a floral smell and a bitter taste. Watson, could you pass me that small bottle, please?
Of course. Here you are. Holmes, do you know what it is?
Wagner's reagent. There was a label on the bottle that you passed to me.
No, Holmes, I meant the bottle that we found.
Let me add the reagent and see if there is any sediment, and then I shall tell you. red sediment, just as I suspected. This liquid is of organic origin. It contains some alkaloid. Most likely it is unstable, and that is why there is a quantity of gold dust to prevent contamination. This mixture is probably a fertilizer. Someone was carrying out unusual experiments in the garden's laboratory.
Interesting. So I guess now I'm supposed to go to the Divine Syndicate? Because I can't think of what else to do.
This place is beautiful, Holmes. Its atmosphere is remarkably soothing.
Let us find someone who could help us.
Guy in the sand wearing that jacket. Jesus. First, let's see if I can go in here.
Locked.
Why is it telling me to use this? Oh.
Fragments of a flower pot. It fell down here. A fragment of a flower pot. The Kew Gardens symbol.
Interesting. What's it doing here? Alright, let's go back to that guy. Guru.
Good day to you, sir. My name is
I am exalting the sap. A while can you wait? From the trace of elements and moreover from the quality of the ambient geotropism it depends. Therefore, please, mind my gravitropism. Its balance, do not disturb.
Disturbed is most definitely the word.
There. Completed is the symbiosis. Welcome you are. To introduce myself I am...
Why does he talk like Yoda?
The Mystic.
The Green Grand Mystic himself.
This is me. Who am I speaking to?
We are two gentlemen who are extremely interested in the vegetation philosophy that is advocated by this establishment.
Listening to you, I am.
Oh my god, seriously.
We should like to take a look around, to immerse ourselves in the wisdom that emanates from here.
It is a school of anastomosis, the divine scholastic syndicate for vegetation veneration and meditation. Divine syndicate, glory to the eukaryotic. Those whose hearts are ready to spermatophize in sharing of knowledge are permitted to physically enter our vegetable kingdom and its wisdom. And to be permitted, you must earn it. Yes.
Do you have friends at Kew Gardens?
None. Not worthy they are.
Hmm. I'm not sure which of these I should pick.
Nevertheless, we have seen Kew Gardens flower pots in your yard. How could they happen to be there?
What? Our sacred place you permitted yourself to search? Sacrilege.
No, really now. There was a theft of plants at Kew Gardens a matter of days ago, and we believe the pots we found here may be connected with it. Please tell us, were you involved?
No. Those plants were ours. They had stolen them from us.
How so?
Their director, Dump, I believe.
Done.
Yes, that's what I said. He borrowed from us 3 of our sisters for the exhibition at his green fly-infested gardens. But he never gave them back to us. Excuses and imbecility. So we went in and saved them.
I see. So, if you stole those rare plants from them, then it means... Ah, I get it. Bravo, Holmes. I think the case is solved.
No, we did not steal. We saved. Well, as a matter of fact, we were unable to find our 3 plants.
I beg your pardon. And yet you took all of the exotic plants from the stand.
They had disappeared. It was the least we could do. They stole our sisters, and so we stole theirs.
He just said they didn't steal.
Green Grand Mystic, we are ready to become devotees and gain access to your temple.
What is the name of our Lord, our God King?
Our God King's name is Treewan, Green Grand Mystic.
Treewan, okay.
La, good.
How do you know how to pronounce it?
Good, I like you. Here is the holy key to the wisdom place. Holy donation can you make whenever you so wish.
Thank you so much.
I pray you to taste our fertilizer substance. From the burdens of life it helps to free.
But of course.
Raw sap, it is called. It is near the entrance.
Between this Yoda guy and the Calvin and Hobbes letter in Case 3, this game's got an interesting sense of humor. Interesting.
Well, we will leave you to your meditation.
Follow my path, and better you will feel.
Before I do that deduction that just appeared, I want to check his portrait. The Green Grand Mystic is a strange character. He has a Chinese tattoo. There is a particular scar on the palm of his left hand, an injury that occurs if one uses unnecessary force with a chemical pipette. He's practiced chemistry, which requires a Cartesian mindset. Okay. So we know who stole them. Sex stole everything. They stole all the plants from the exhibition, including the deadly species. They could have used them in order to murder Dunn. Or the Divine Syndicate stole all but the deadly plants from the exhibition. Not sure which one. Well, I can go into the house now that I have the key, so let's do that. Right, let's start from the left.
That should be the raw sap that the Green Grand Mystic spoke of. This is rather delicious, and of an excellent quality.
My word, Holmes. Their sap is like a form of cocaine.
So you have Holmes actually doing drugs in this game, as opposed to Jack the Ripper, where he just talks about them. Neat.
caterpillars. They are raised as food for certain plants. Let's take them.
Okay.
These 3 plants are identical to the ones shown at the exhibition. I shall take them.
New deduction. Set up the alkaloid from a chemical laboratory in the caterpillars and perform the experiment with the deadly plants, okay? That's what I guess I'm gonna do after I leave here, but I've still got more to do.
Osmosis and photosynthesis.
This must be Triwan, the Divine Syndicate's god.
He's pretty cool looking.
This door is locked, but I can try to open it.
I'm gonna have my mic off for a second because the dogs are barking a lot right now. There we go.
These instruments are used for smoking opium.
Surprised Watson doesn't have a snarky comment about Holmes looking at that.
This substance is an alkaloid, The same as in the bottle we found in the bushes at Kew Gardens. Perfect, Watson. We can begin our experiment. This cabinet is full of chemicals. They are the same as the ones we found in the laboratory at Kew Gardens. That would be enough to perform the most difficult of chemical experiments. A vast amount of opium. The list of plant friends and benefactors, lawyers, well-known manufacturers, political leaders. I imagine that one of these plants would be capable of releasing a toxic vapor. I need to find out exactly how it could be done. I shall begin now. Watson, if you are at all optimistic to have dinner this evening, then I'd recommend that you put on the gas mask. This plant becomes inactive after being drenched with alkaloid. This plant becomes inactive after being drenched with alkaloid. It appears to open after being soaked with alkaloid. How interesting. What a strong and effective defensive mechanism.
No shit, are these real plants?
I find the behavior of predators utterly fascinating.
Me too.
It closed again. I believe I saw a small cloud of gas. I wonder what secrets this plant is hiding. Perhaps if we agitate it to a greater extent whilst it is opened, it will reveal a little more. I am interested in what might occur if the prickly plant should shoot at it. No reaction. It appears to have fallen inactive after being disturbed. My word! It shot a spike at me after I stabbed it with a pin. I imagined that its reaction would be ferocious if I increased the strength of my attack.
Okay, so he said he wants this one to shoot at the one on the right.
It appears to open after being soaked with alkaloid. toxic gas with spores. Extraordinary.
Huh.
The plants would be capable of killing only if they were directly next to the victim and stimulated at precisely the right moment.
Let us take our caterpillars to the Colonial Collection Room. We may see things more clearly there.
It is too early, Watson. Our suspects will be there. Let us investigate Kew Gardens one more time and ask some questions.
New deductions. Syndicate left the plants at Kew Gardens in order to murder Montague Dunn at a later date. Someone stole them before the Syndicate were able to. This could connect to this as well, because it's his motive, pretty much. He's not very good at botany. It's doubtful that he could have learned how the plants might release their deadly spores, or he had the biological knowledge to stimulate the deadly plants. Let's also see if I can connect White to that. The knowledge she acquired at the university might not be enough to guarantee the correct reaction of the deadly plants, or she had the biological knowledge to stimulate them, so same as Albert. Okay. So, Holmes wants us to go to Kew Gardens one more time. Only got about 20 minutes before I have to leave, but I feel like I'm getting so close. I might have to split this video up. And the funny thing is, the second part's only going to be like a few minutes. It would be helpful if this load time weren't so horrible. Alright, so I should talk to all three of them.
Can you tell me if you saw Mr. Montague Dunn on the day of his death?
Yes, of course. I met him, and we went to see Albert, his son, at around 9:30. He appeared quite calm.
What were you doing on the morning of the accident?
After paying multiple
that
visits
morning?
to Albert, I had a little
Not
talk
on
with
that
Miss
morning?
White. Then I returned to my desk to complete some paperwork. Suddenly, I observed that Mr. Dunn was not feeling well, so I ran immediately to fetch Albert. I clearly remember that it was around 10:30, for I was late that morning.
Thank you, Mr. Hamish. We shall continue our investigation. Your father's death does seem highly suspicious. What were your movements here on that day?
Suspicious. Well, I was working in the seed house, taking care of Lysa something, or Lear Pontus, or... No, wait. These Latin names. And I spent so many hours trying to memorize them.
Did you see your father that day?
Yes. He came here with Mr. Hamish for his weekly visit. There was nothing unusual about that.
And then?
Nothing. They stepped out to the backyard. It was perhaps 20 minutes before 10 o'clock. Then about 10 minutes later, I saw my father heading for the dry tropics room while Mr. Hamish returned here.
And Mr. Hamish and Miss White, what were they both doing that morning?
Mr. Hamish visited me a couple of times. I also saw him returning from talking with Miss White, and that was at 10 minutes past 10. But then he ran back here to me to tell me that my father was feeling unwell. We hurried across to the water lily room, and I found my father lying dead on the floor. Oh my God.
Thank you, young man. We shall see you again soon.
Alright, now just for Mrs. White. After that, what did he say? We have to come back when there's no one here? Because he said we can't do our experiment while anyone's working.
Can you tell me what Mr. Dunn was doing upon the day of his death?
I can, but there is nothing very special to say. I was in the laboratory when I saw Mr. Dunn heading towards me. Tuesday is the day of his weekly visit. It was supposed to be at 9, but he was 10 minutes late, as usual.
And then?
Well, he came in to say good morning. Then I saw him spend 2 or 3 minutes by the plants outside the laboratory. After that, he ran out in the direction of the nursery, where Mr. Hamish was working. He was always in a rush during the inspection, you see. I would pity anyone who stood in his way.
And that was the last time you saw him?
Yes. I stayed in the laboratory until 20 minutes to 11, when I heard the cries of Albert and Mr. Hamish from the large glass house.
I joined them as soon as I could, for I knew that something must be very wrong.
What exactly were you doing in the laboratory?
I was recording an experiment for my thesis. I only stopped my work once when Mr. Hamish visited me briefly around 10 o'clock.
You say you were recording an experiment when the tragedy occurred. Might I listen to the roll?
Certainly. Please do. You will find it in the laboratory. It is number 320.
Thank you, miss.
Everyone has gone, Holmes. The way is clear.
Okay.
When Montague Dunn was standing close by the plants, the caterpillars were released and caused the deadly spores to activate. Panicking, and likely already half asphyxiated, Montague Dunn started back and knocked over the bust. He rushed to the door, but it was locked. He had to force it open with his shoulder. We already know the outcome. Montague Dunn collapsed and died not far from the pool. Well, it is time to perform our experiment on the ventilation system. The caterpillars could only fall from the ventilation duct. Our caterpillars are in place. I'll activate the ventilation system so that they fall down. Watson, stay here and observe.
All right, Holmes.
This way? I don't think this is right. I could really use one of those maps right about now. Oh wait, look at that.
Ventilation system. The power is on. The engine cannot be started whilst the transmission is active. The engine has started. The ventilation system is working.
Okay, so this leads into the seed house.
Excellent. This ventilation fan is working. Let us see if I can activate the other one.
I think this is it. There we go. There we go.
Perfect. Now I just need to find Watson to check the result.
It works perfectly, Holmes. Bravo. Now, if you could just help me to get rid of these caterpillars.
Perfect. Now we know how the murder of Montague Dunn was carried out, by activating both Albert's and Mr. Hamish's fans.
But only from Mr. Hamish's workplace would it be possible to see when Montague Dunn entered the Colonial Collection Room.
Alright, so let's play around with possible conclusions. Let's see if we can get the sect to be guilty first. Oh wait, what's that say? Martin Hamish had the opportunity to stimulate the deadly plants in the colonial collection room. As a biologist, he would have understood the technicality of how to do this. Is it impossible to find them guilty with a... Okay, so it looks like I can't do... Damn it, that means I'm going to be replaying this. It's like I can't do some of the conclusions. That's unfortunate. Well, in any case, I've got to go. So I'm going to come back later and I'm going to finish this chapter. But for now, thank you for joining. This is Screen Singer, and I'll see you in the next video.